All right, today what we're going to talk about is something that most Californians do not see or understand, yet more and more of them are figuring out when it comes to the real estate market. And that is that certain real estate markets in California are never going to be the same again, or at least that's what a lot of experts are saying. Excuse me. The problem with this is most experts are not experts at all. You see, most experts in real estate have never owned a lot of real estate, have never invested through multiple real estate cycles. And there's a story out of SF Gate, and it actually picked up a lot of traction. It's entitled This One California Real Estate Market That Will Never Go Back to Normal. But they're already starting to say that Oakland's also going to be affected. Let's read this story. Let's get into it. And if you want to invest in real estate like nobody else and make more money than you ever thought possible, I know it sounds crazy, and you don't have to actually own real estate, check out the link below. I've got a sale on a course on how to do it. And just, the industry standard to teach you how to do this is between $2,000 and $50,000. I'm not joking. All right. Stories out of SF Gate. It says right here, San Francisco housing prices are back to normal. But you have to ask yourself, what is normal in this type of scenario? Watch this. It said if that sentence made you laugh or cry, you're probably not alone. A new report from Redfin claims that after a tumultuous few years of skyrocketing home price appreciation and elevated mortgage rates, home prices in San Francisco have returned to July 2018 levels, the last time the real estate market could be dubbed normal. Excuse me, sorry, I'm totally congested. So, a couple things I want you to think about. First off, I've been looking at homes in Lake Tahoe. Lake Tahoe is a great example of a market that is starting to get decimated, and people up there still don't even want to admit it. And the reason why it's getting decimated is because a ton of people during COVID from San Francisco sold their homes, or they leased them out, or they borrowed against them. They bought homes up there. The prices skyrocketed, and now the prices are completely dumping. Homes over 1.5 to $2.5 million and higher, they're already down almost 30% from their highs. And the locals, a couple of years ago, I would talk to them, and they're in complete denial. So this market's heading for a massive downturn. And they laughed at me. And I tried to explain to them. I said, look, in 2008, everybody says there was a housing crisis, right? They would say, yeah. Sorry, guys, totally under the weather. And I said, in 2008, that's when everybody said the housing crash happened. But up there in Tahoe, it actually didn't happen until 2012. The reason why homes didn't dump until 2012 to about 2014 in Lake Tahoe is because it was a wealthier part of the country. All right. When you have wealthier clients, they tend to be able to weather storms longer. But at a certain point, they end up having to dump. And why? Because the only people that could buy their homes as they're dumping, usually until it hits a certain price point, are the middle class. And the middle class have to go through their crash. And you see, by 2012, 2014, we were seeing people just being able to start getting jobs again after the 2008 crisis. So that's where a lot of these so-called real estate moguls or professionals always get it wrong, because they're not investing, and they haven't been investing long enough to see these cycles. So the story goes on to say the real estate brokerage used a mortgage payment to income ratio to calculate its findings, meaning that San Francisco right now, homes cost about what they did before the COVID pandemic relative to how much money people make. The median home price in San Francisco has gone up 8% since July of 2018, while the national median price has surged 56% over the same time period. Meanwhile, household incomes have grown 7.7% annually in San Francisco, at almost double the 3.9% yearly increase nationally. So, looking at the Bay Area in California, you have to be able to see that this is the beginning of a real estate crash that's now out in the open. We knew this crash was happening a long time ago, and the reason why is because home prices were stalling. home sales were falling. And then you have this evidence of, okay, now we're back to 2018 levels. Now you look at places like Las Vegas. Las Vegas is now all over the news for how slow the tourism is, both the foot traffic around Vegas and the air traffic from other countries into Las Vegas. Okay, we're seeing that news everywhere. But before that happened, we were already seeing the housing market tilt. In 2007, Las Vegas was the first major metropolitan area to come crashing down. Well, and when I say crash, things never stop. What happens is the cogs of sales they go from going fast to starting to slow down to still moving but being slow. Nothing ever crashes. You never go to an area in the country and all of a sudden say, hey, there's not been one home that hasn't sold in the last 30 days, 60 days, or 90 days. That doesn't happen. So what you see is them slowing down. And that slowdown effect, what happens as more and more properties hit the market, you start to find yourself having to lower prices and sellers start to capitulate. Now, check this out. This is an interesting thing an economist says. He says that doesn't mean the city's housing market is suddenly affordable, said Shen Zhao, head of economics at Redfin. There hasn't been a cataclysmic event like a housing crash where prices come way down or even a meaningful decline in mortgage rates, she said. All of a sudden, you find yourself back to normal, and that's not this big adjustment that happened. For most people, that might be a disappointment, but getting back there is still better than we are getting back there is still better than where we currently are, Zhao continued. And so I think a lot of people, they should feel hopeful that there is a path back to a better situation than we're in. Okay, here's the problem. As more and more stories, and this is what this economist from Redfin will not tell you because they don't understand how it works, and they have a little bit of a bias because if real estate comes to a grinding slowdown, this economist may not be in a job, and companies like Redfin and Zillow are going to be making less money because there's no more velocity of transactions. So this is where people don't get it. And this is where it's interesting where they say, hey, it's not like we got this cataclysmic event. Cataclysmic events in real estate downturns only happen when a majority of people figure out, oh crap, prices are heading down. Then what do? Excuse me. They stop looking for homes. Why would they look? Because the prospects of buying a home and it going up in value within 6 months or a year aren't there. So they go, let's just wait for a better opportunity. And so what happens is that exacerbates the problem. Also, on top of that, you have banks that are watching the markets and they're going, homes are not rising in price right now, they're falling. So do we want to loan money to borrowers that are on the edge of being able to make that payment, right? Because that's what banks do. They're always looking for that fine line of do they make enough money, and can they or will they keep making their house payment? You see, one thing that a lot of people don't understand is that there were a ton of people during 2006, 2007, 2008, even into 9 and 10 that could make the payment. But because they were so small-minded or short-minded, what they did is they could pay the payment, but since they saw their home falling in value, they walked away. I know people personally that did that. Once you start seeing that, banks know that that happens. And so they go, well, what are we going to do? Well, let's loan less money. That's one thing. So one thing they do is they loan less money. Number two, what they do is they sit there and they go, hey, you know what? Tighten our standards a little bit. So as that happens, they tighten their standards. Then you start to see that cataclysmic event because more and more of it comes out, stories like this in the news. Look, I want to close on this one. Check this out. They say that Oakland will also reach normal this month. So it's no longer just one housing market in California, right? If housing prices stay flat or decline, no other metro in the US is projected to reach normal until March of 2027, when Austin, Texas would hit that level, according to Redfin's calculations. Well, the thing is it happens slowly, 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 and then all at once. So you're going to see the rest of 2025, which is going to be bad because it's the fall and going into winter, which is bad normally for real estate. And then you're going to see into the spring and summer of 2026 be abysmal. This is going to be an awesome time to be waiting to buy a house. If you want to invest in real estate and you don't want to buy any property, but you want to make stupid rates of return back and get mailbox money, links down below to a course that costs normally $2,000 to $50,000 to learn. I'm not joking. And I've got a stupid sale price for two of the courses bundled up together. Okay. Choice is up to you. If you want to be wealthy, you got to put in the work. And the truth is, you got to learn from people that have done it and know how to keep moving forward when everyone else is stalling. All right, with that being said, the Economic Ninja is out.